Okay, so we went fishing, and we like to go fishing out there. Pat and I used to fish out there all the time. So we went out to the Eureka Pier, and we went fishing and crabbing at the same time. And I remember Jana was really young, and so her patience was gone. She just wanted to play. And Ian was really focused on trying to catch fish. You know, he was very astute like that. You know, he really wanted to get things done, or whatever task was there, he wanted to complete that, so he wanted to fish. But Jana was just reckless. She was just impatient. She was just losing it. So I decided to keep Jana occupied. We had some crabs that we had caught. Now, do you remember this story? Nobody remembers. Well, we were doing something else at the time. In a humble state.
Drinking might have been involved.
So I came up with the idea, we got a whole bunch of crabs, and we put them in a bucket, and we had a little gladiator fight. And I just remember Ian was like refereeing it while Jana was watching, and they had like so much fun together, brother and sister, you know. And I just remember that. And one of the crabs snipped off the other crab's claw, and Jana freaked out. And Ian was like, "Oh man, that's so cool," you know. And so, looking back at the table, it says share a memory. That was one of my memories of Ian. Ian always had a smile on his face, and he lived life in the eyes of a child. You kind of know what I mean? He lived like that. Another story I remember him was, we're done with college. I was working up in Concord at a youth center, and he was with Uncle George. George brought him up because I had an event. I hosted a boxing fundraiser at where I used to work, and so George brought up Ian, and Pat was there, Claire was there, and was he 21 at the time? I don't know if he was 21 or not, but if he wasn't, it's not my fault. George is the elder statesman of the family. So Mercy, all blames to their son drinking underage was on George's shoulder. Anyways, so we went to sushi.
Yes.
Remember that? And we were giving him sake box. George was giving him sake box. Older Uncle George. Eldest brother of the Bogus clan.
It could have been you just forgot maybe.
No. I'm not even blood related. Call on his shoulders, not mine. So anyways, George got him drunk. Shame, George, shame. And so we went back. I worked at a youth center. And so we had the fun idea of playing hide and go seek in this huge warehouse that I was in charge of. So here we are. It was me, George, Claire was there, Ian, Pat, and we just started to play hide and go seek. And the whole time, Ian just had the biggest smile on his face. And he was always the one that we found first. And he got so frustrated, remember?
Yeah, I know.
So Ian got upset. He was like, "Man, how come you guys are always finding me?" I was like, "I don't know, man, I don't know." But, you know, he was just, George had him drunk and loud, so that's another reason fine. But he looked down on himself and was like, "Wait a minute," because I know why he's finding me. I'm wearing a white shirt. So he took off his shirt, and we wouldn't go play hide and go seek again. And so he went and hid in a really dark corner, hoping that we couldn't find him. But yet, when we started to look, he was the first person we found. And he got upset, he was like, "How'd you guys find me?" He goes, I took off my shirt. And I looked at him and said, "Dude, you were smiling. I saw your teeth go across your And at that point, we heard a big thud. And that just had to be Pat falling through the roof. That's another story. And then I have one more story that I like to share about Ian. And it's a story about love. I think it's love. It's a great story. It was Brian's 40th birthday party. So again, Ian getting drunk was not my fault. George was there, and then Brian was there too. They're all older than me. No liability on my shoulder. They got him drunk, not me. So anyways, when we like to drink, us guys, you know, we're guys, and we play this game called Guard Your Grill. Yeah, I know, this is so appropriate, right, honey? My wife Joanna's right there. So we play this game called Guard Your Grill after we've had a few shots. And it's basically when all the guys, we sit in a circle and we just sock each other in the jaw, as hard as we can. Yeah, I'm wearing shorts and it's winter, that explains a lot, right? So anyways, it came up to Ian's turn, and Ian never played with us, and he was like, wow, he was ready to take his first shot from one of his uncles. And George, big Uncle George says, no one's gonna hit my nephew, I'll take his shot. And then instead of us punching Ian in the face, we just punched George. That's why he looks the way he does. It's okay, George. But that's love. George took a shot so that his nephew wouldn't get punched in the face.
He took more than just that shot.
Huh?
He was taking more than just that
Oh,
one.
that's right, that's right.
He took all his other shots.
Yeah, I forgot about that because, he was getting it. Yeah, not only did George take a physical shot in the face for Ian, we were still passing, we were drinking 151 at the time because that was George's drink of choice.
Of course.
I wanted to drink Sprite. Anyways, George goes that Ian had one too many. So instead of Ian taking the shots, George would sneak Ian's shots for him so that he wouldn't get more messed up. Those are my 3 stories. What Mercy had to say about Ian's passing, it was a shock. I think it was a huge blow to all of us, and it's hard to understand what was going on, and I've come to the conclusion that's something for me personally, it's not for me to understand. All I know is we are not responsible for the choices that people make. And I only hope and pray that he is at peace. And on behalf of my family and Mercy and her family, I just want to say thank you for everyone for being here, because this, again, is a celebration of life. And every one of you here is just a show of support of how much he is loved, how much he's still loved, and how much the family, Mercy and Jen, how much you guys are loved. So this is a celebration of life, and let's just, let's keep it going. Anyone else would like to speak, please feel free to come up. Thank you.
Did anybody, any one of the co-workers want to speak, or Andrew, did you want to say something?
Yeah, he can speak from there.
Yeah, you can stay right there.
This is like Oprah. She comes to you.
Thanks, President. I'm old enough to be older than most of you guys. And I know, of course, since the beginning. And I've been very close to the family, and I'm close to a lot of these things. Because I'm one of those guys that ended up being a kind of favorite uncle. So sometimes when I saw issues going on, I would go and have lunch with the kids, give them some wise advice. It either helped them or confused them. So in honor of Ian, I'd like to approach this kind of a subject more direct. In honor of Ian, I did research on about 1,000 people who bailed. And anything from emperors to generals, famous actors, comedians, and musicians, all bailed. And it was interesting because all that information was there was about how. And nothing, absolutely nothing. Now all the information I was looking as to why. And I think a lot of us have issues with that aspect of it. So it was really interesting to come to the conclusion that I didn't necessarily know why. I had issues at times in my life, as all of you probably have, and maybe even broached the subject in my own mind. So when something like this happens, it's a shock. But it's also information about yourself and how much you knew that person. And Ian had his issues, no question about it. And I always tried to show up at different places and be there, you know, to talk with them, chat with them a little bit, sometimes helped out. I wanted Mercy to know that I didn't show up for Ian much because I never saw him much. And it wasn't as if I couldn't have went, you know, and some of the stuff was going on. I had something to say about it. So I think a lot of us might have that sort of a thing going on because when somebody bails, there's a whole lot of people that get affected that are still living and around. And that's something that we all have to deal with. And it's amazing and wonderful to see everybody here for this celebration of life, which you should be. But I kind of miss in being affected the way I was, having not had the time with Ian when he probably most needed it. But on the other end of it, you know, you read about all 1,000 people, famous people, just all kinds of great stuff happening to them, and nobody knows why. And so that's kind of a question that will always be in our mind. Those of us are close enough to him to have known him, somebody should have sent that help. It doesn't really say why. People just choose their time. And I guess I had to. I know I had to really choose like that, but I got this old, so I made it. So I just wanted to put that forward a little bit to inform Mercy at times that she knows when I've been around and stuff. Thanks. Anybody else?
Anybody would like to share anything? Auntie has something to say. I'm Maria. I'm the auntie. When Ian was little, he didn't know I had a first name. I was auntie. So, and they were surprised when they found out that my name, I actually had a name. Ian was, I loved him before he was born, I loved him after he was born. He made me an auntie and made me want to be a mother. And I got to spend a lot of wonderful times with him. I was the auntie that would sugar them up and send them back to their parents. I was good at that, right, Jana? Remember Jana is. And, but I also had a lot of great memories of Ian's laugh and his wonderful spirit of adventure. I had the opportunity to spend a whole summer with them. I was a camp director and my sister needed daycare, and I said, you can sign them up for my camp. So she would drive them from Milpitas to Sunnyvale, and then I would drive them all the way to Henry Cowell State Park in Felton, and they spent the whole summer with me. And I would just never forget the time that they were so tired by the end of the day. And we went and got ice cream, but I was running late. I said, you gotta get in the car with the ice cream and everything. And they're like, we'll be good, Auntie, we'll be good. And I get to Sunnyvale where my sister's gonna pick them up, and there is ice cream all melted all over them because they had fallen asleep with ice cream cones all over the place. Remember that? Yeah, where Jana is. And so there were times like that where it was just adventure after adventure. And, you know, there were times when we didn't see Ian for a long time, but he was always loved and always cared for. And the last time I saw him, we actually had some time where he was helping me move, and we were able to have some time together. And he broke down in tears, and he says, Auntie, I'm so sorry that I have been gone for so long. I've missed so much. And I said to him, it's okay, you know, let's not worry about the past. Let's just move forward and enjoy now. And so I think that was kind of my last real heavy talk with him. And I think for all of us, we continue to love him, and we just need to live in the now and remember him. And John's right, the big smile never went away. His laugh never went away. And, you know, he and I spent a lot of time out in nature, so whenever I'm out hiking and doing things like that, those are times when I'm going to be talking to him and remembering a lot of memories that we had together. Because we spent a lot of time camping, fishing, and just exploring. So, I hope that when you remember Ian, that you remember his big smile, his easy laugh, and that you loved being outside. And I know one of the things that I'm going to do, because we talked about it, was to go fishing. So, I had bought him his last fishing license, and we were supposed to go fishing. And then we were supposed to hike Mount Hamana together. So I know that is something that I'm going to continue to do, is to get myself outside and to remember him in the ways that I remember having a good time with him. So thank you so much for all of your support. And who's next, uncles?
Woohoo, great! Woo-hoo.
Hi, everyone. My name is Susan, and I was HR manager at Marzetti, where Ian worked. And one of the things that I have to say about Ian, he was an outstanding employee, as far as I'm concerned. His bosses are here, so they might say something different. But for me, I dealt with a lot of employees over the years. He worked there, I believe, in like 2003 through 2017 when he left, so he was there for quite a long time. He worked at our off-site warehouse, which was up the street. So I didn't get to see him like on a daily basis, like I would see a lot of employees, but I did get to see him when we do our barbecues and our holiday things and our training and that kind of stuff. He'd come over to the facility. And one thing also I remember about him was that he was always happy, always had a smile on his face, and willing to do whatever it took to get the job done. And was never, ever a problem child. I had lots of problem children. Of course, nobody on the table here, but a lot of problem children at Marzetti, but he was not one. He wasn't needy, he wasn't demanding, he wasn't, no issues at all. He was a great employee to have, and I really enjoyed working with him. So.
Okay, I think we have time for one more.
Hi, I'm Scott. Mercy's my much better half. Sorry, I'm talking a bit loudly. After we have some wonderful food to shout out, we have Ohana with Patrick Mendez. We have amazing food, and John brought some food, and Renee Rose, we have some amazing food. The most disappointing thing for me is the fact that everything that Ian said is right. Wonderful guy, a loving father, losing his kids just ripped his heart out. And I guess the lesson is, as Mercy and I had to count, we were counted incorrectly. We've known 15 people that passed away this past year, 4 of them suicides. So if you don't mind, give me the book if you need to. This is the only one where hopefully we'll think about, yes, this is a suicide. And if someone else wants to talk about this and we can change, as our Father Jim used to say, 3 people's lives, let's do it. A lot of us tried to connect to Ian, and depression is a horrible, horrible thing. He is the most loving, heart-on-your-sleeve person. You're never going to find anybody like that. And I think a lot of people, Jan tried to reach out, I tried to reach out, Mercy did, obviously, the uncles and aunts. And sometimes it's such an inner demon, you just can't reach the person. And I'm not saying I know the answer. I just want us to talk publicly and celebrate everything that Ian did, and live life as Ian did, with a certain naivete, a certain fun-loving. He absolutely loved the outdoors. He loved his kids. But also to realize that anything that we do to each other, especially as kids, if it's a mom, a dad, a stepmom, a wife, something else, even if there's emotional issues, if there's bullying, if there's teasing, if there's all this stuff when we make fun of people at their expense, it adds up. And Ian was one of those souls that was so hard on his sleeve. He took it personally. Other people may just slough it off. And I think at some point it just collected, and I don't think he knew how to deal with it. And so I don't mean this to be a downer, I mean it to be an upper. But This is a nationwide epidemic, and only in the US are we having such a problem. And somehow in our society, we shame people that are struggling, we shame people that are depression, and we make fun of them. But Ian would do anything for you. He would roll up his sleeve and do anything for you. You know, we had some conversations, hey, why don't we do this, why don't we do that? And I think he was so far in so much of his depression, and we're literally having so many suicides. We have to stop this. You know, I don't know how we stop it, but I think it goes back to Ohana. It goes back to everyone that came together. You're going to have some great music here today. You're going to have some incredible food. Feel free to move forward so you can hear the wonderful music. We have a band coming a little bit later. But I just wanted to put a little reality out there, but also reach into everything that made Ian so wonderful. Reach out to everything that made him such a powerful person, that you wanted to be his friend. You wanted to be his coworker. You know, you wanted to go hiking with him. And that's really what I think we need to remember, but we also need to reach out and try to listen. Is someone asking for help but we don't know it? And how do we reach out to others to help that person? So that's my wish for everything else. That, and you eat like crazy today and take some food home, because we're having a great food and a great time, because that's what Ian loved, was to eat and eat and eat, and he stayed so damn skinny.
Okay, anybody, I guess we have time for one more. Anybody else like to say something?
This is one of the aunties too. Hi, I'm Ian's, I guess, great aunt, and I'm Mercy's aunt, and I knew her when she was born. and it's kind of complicated, but I remember Ethan as a young child. The last time I saw him, he was running around at the park with Jana, and that's the last I saw of him. And that's how I will always remember him, running and having a good time with Jana in the park. And that's the way I want to remember him. I always ask Mercy, well, how's Ian doing, how's Jana doing? And she would always, fill me in on what the latest news was of both of them. And I appreciated that, because I go way back with Mercy and her dad. My dad were first cousins, and so I've always kept in touch, and we're always family. So I always felt that at least I can get some information from her. And my daughter just back in. But anyway, I hope that I will always remember him that way and Jana that way. And my heart is just full of good thoughts for him, and I'm sure he's so appreciative of all of you being here today. Thank you.
Anybody else would like to say anything else?
Raymar, the other auntie.
Ian had a lot of aunties. He celebrated every one of my birthdays when he was up until he was, 12? Every year. So some of the pictures that you see there with me and him are on my birthday. From the time that he was a kid and could be held upside down, you'll see that also. So this kind of hit hard. I saw him 2 weeks before he died. And at that time, I was so joyed to finally reconnect with a promise that he was going to come by my office and have lunch with me, remember? And he said as much, and we were making plans. So it came as a real shock to find out that that was the last time that I was going to see him. But that wasn't my last memory of him. He will always be a part of my life. He's a part of my best friends. And I'm just happy to be here to celebrate his life. Thank you.
Raymar and I have been friends since 6th grade. She's been a big part of my life since then, so thank you, sweetie. Thank you. So I guess we have to find out where the food is, huh? we gotta get the party started, man. Yeah, that's the way it is. You know, so we can go ahead and what should we do?
It was scheduled for 4:15, so there is time for more chairs.
Oh, we do have time for more shares. Okay, anybody else? Is any of the coworkers, anybody have any other memories we'd like to share?
Drinking does not have to be included, but, you know.
Uncles? Any other uncles? Oh, okay, Uncle Pat.
I'm Uncle Pat. I'm Uncle Pat, and you know, when I was taking care of Ian, Mercy always would ask us to come over to her house and take care of him while Mercy would go out, and we had so much fun. Danny and George, we would be playing with them, beating them, and again filling with sugar. So then when Mercy would come home, he'd be bouncing off the walls and everything. But when he would come over to our house, I was the fun uncle, and I always wanted to make him laugh. So Mercy would know this. Every time they would leave, I would always go outside, and when they drive away, I would always pretend I'm running to the car, and he would just be cracking up like crazy. And he would remember that. He used to tell me that all the time, that you were like really funny when we was growing up. You used to run into the car, but yeah, he was always smiling. I always see him laughing. But the last time I saw him, and it was a very surprise, was last Christmas. We were all at Mercy's house for a party, and all of a sudden I just hear, Ian's in town, or Ian's here. And I kept saying, Mercy, call him, have him come over. I want to see him. I haven't seen him in years. And he finally came over, and it was like, oh my God, I haven't seen him in years. He looks, I just hugged him, and I talked to him and tried to, see how everything was going, because it's been so long since I heard his voice or seen his face. I've always seen pictures, but seeing him in real life, I just hugged him and like, oh my God, I just have not seen you in years. And that time, we would talk, and I tried to help him out. I texted him, trying to help him get a job, and then the texting stopped, and the calls stopped, and he didn't answer his phone when I would call him, and then I find out he's gone, and that was a real shock. It was so sad. But again, I in my mind, I just remember that I just made him laugh when he was a kid, and that's how I want to remember him, that I was the fun uncle. And thank you very much for everybody for being here. Thank you.
Oh my gosh.
Hi everyone, my name is Lori, and I'm a friend of Mercy's from about 30 years ago. We first met when my husband and I moved to the Bay Area, and we have two daughters. They were the same age as Ian and Jana, and we used to get together and do stuff. I was an aerobics teacher, and Mercy came to my class, and the kids would play together in the daycare room, and we became friends and did stuff together, and Ian and Jana and Shannon and Kelsey always got along and had a great time. I saw a picture of them up there when they were little, and that's what I remember, Jana. I remember you, cute little Jana, and